So just to say something very quick about the open access textbook, it's a book that is in its very final stages of preparation before going, hopefully, to review. It's composed of 8 chapters plus an introduction. So the 8 chapters look at the following topics. The first is multilingualism. So in this chapter, Olga Torres-Hostench puts the case for multilingualism and sets the scene for the rest of the book, if you like. You are probably aware, being in this industry, or certainly if you're in the English-speaking world, that the very need for individuals to speak more than one language is sometimes questioned by policy makers in the light of, for example, extensive use of English, but also the presence of quite highly functioning machine translation. So a case still needs to be made for multilingualism and how perhaps machine translation can support it rather than undermine it. Then, of course, we need to introduce machine translation to an audience who might have either false ideas about translation in general, or just not have thought a lot about the area before. So they use the technology, but they haven't given it much thought. And so this would be an introduction that could be used by people who don't have hugely technical requirements. And then we get into chapters that would help you to actually implement machine translation in a more sophisticated or informed way than before. So we have chapters on, how to choose the right MT system for you. And this is, of course, based on the evaluation of machine translation quality, amongst other things. We also have a chapter on preparing texts for machine translation, which is an interesting topic, given that when the technologies change, what helps the technology may also change. And that chapter is by Pilar Sanchez-Gijon. Sharon O'Brien has written a chapter on dealing with post-editing mistakes, or with machine translation mistakes, rather. So this is essentially a chapter on post-editing. Again, it's very accessible and also critical. So it takes quite a critical stance on some of the received wisdom about post-editing. We hope you'll find that interesting. Joss Moorkens tackles big questions about machine translation and ethics. And these span from the kind of issues that arise when we use any kind of computer system, issues to do with privacy, data protection, etc., but also issues to do with machines as ethical agents. So it's very much in the up to date, if you like. Chapter 7, which I have circulated a link to, and if you haven't received it, you might get in touch, is on how neural machine translation works. So this chapter, it's still pedagogically oriented in that it still gives us accessible ways of thinking about neural machine translation, metaphors to help us understand, but it takes it further, breaking down the individual steps and maybe informing us a bit more about the actual technical detail. And then finally, Gemma's chapter looks at customizable neural machine translation and explains the steps one needs to take to get a system that works for one's own purposes. Again, this is written in very accessible terms so that you begin to understand how these systems can be seen as learners, which is very consistent again with the machine learning backdrop. So, as I said, there is a sample chapter that has already been circulated, and if you don't have this URL, here it is now, you can go get it. You can also look at our website.